Welcome back to another edition of Everything Football 62. I'm your host, Jonathan Big Tex Johnson. Here we go again, getting right close to this draft. And then you got these old fogies, these old grumpy old men, these Walter Matthau and all these other type of guys, grumpy old men, Grandpa Simpson and all these jokers coming out the woodwork, sitting up there talking mess about Kyler Murray. Now, it's funny. If it wasn't one thing, it was about his height. Or he measured out 5'10". It's another thing now. Now you're literally questioning his intelligence about the game. Let's just get this thing straight because I've been following the young man since 2012. Let's just do this. Let's take a trip back in time, and I'm going to try to wrap this up as quickly as possible. Kyler Murray went 43-0 in the highest classification in that of the Texas 5A or 6A now, but 5A football. I've already done a part on Kyler Murray and why he should actually get drafted and whatnot. And his credentials spoke for itself. But even coming out 24/7, which is a dealing with 24 Sports, dealing with 24/7 Sports that deals with different recruiting and stuff. I think since 2011, and he was the highest rated. He was a 5-star prospect coming out, and probably the shortest at 5'10" when he came out of that of high school. And like I said, 3 state championships, 3 All-State. You know, I mean, the numbers are staggering. And they actually questioning his leadership ability. Well, let's take a walk down memory lane. And like I said, this is stuff with Charley Casserly, who you would think would actually know better. But we got the same mess last year with Bill Polian speaking about and talking about that of Lamar Jackson, right? Even they was talking about Baker Mayfield, who Kyler Murray actually played behind. It's funny that the last three Heisman Trophy winners, right, are possibility with Kyler Murray still pending, going to go in the first round, right? And the 2 that was talked about the most or scrutinized the most actually end up doing the most for their football team this past year in 2018. Baker Mayfield would go on to win. I think they went 6-6 or something like that. First that many wins in a long time in Cleveland. And, of course, Lamar Jackson picked 32nd, I believe, by Baltimore, and led his team to the AFC North championship, AFC North title, and got a playoff berth. Okay, but last year Bill Polian said the kid should be a wide receiver, but that's another story. Baker Mayfield and his he had no leadership qualities and all these other different types of things. But the thing about with Kyler Murray, they're saying all these things about him. People don't realize this kid's a prodigy. And let's just do this. Like I said, 43-0 at Allen, right? His leadership, talking about his leadership qualities. His coach, one of his offensive coordinator, Jeff Fleener, right? Fleener said that, Kyler is a silent assassin. He's not like Baker that was all in your face, boisterous, and all this other kind of stuff like that. He's just silent assassin. He's a competitor in every sense of the word, right? And that's what he does. It's like leading by example, not all the rah-rah stuff and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean anything. If you get a chance where it would do you well to check out the young man's character, you need to go to 24/7 Sports and read that when they're talking about it's called, actually, let me see what it's called. It's called Greatest High School Quarterback Ever, the Inevitable Legend of Kyler Murray. And like I said, I mean, you look up all the stuff that you need to look up and talk to his offensive coordinator, his head coach, Tom Westberg, and whatnot, and what he's done. Kyler Murray, they talking about his father, Kevin Murray, who played for A&M, who was an All-Southwest Conference quarterback and a 2-time All-American, second-team All-American quarterback, and who's actually a quarterback whisperer right now, working with some of the best quarterbacks in the state of Texas, right? This is who he was learning under. It's no slouch. You follow what I'm saying? It's no slouch. So when you get into these types of things, when these guys talk this mess, they don't know. You go back talking about no film or board work. He would have to have in no film and board work just being under that of his father. You see the way that he rolls. I'm like, has anybody heard anything negative aside from that? Because I know what did it. What did it was that Dan Patrick interview right there, I think the week of the Super Bowl, and he seemed a little quirky or whatever like that. But it's like, I'm like, what does that have to do with anything and what he can do on the field? You follow what I'm saying? That has nothing to do with anything. He's a little quirky or whatever. And at the time, it was indecisive what he was going to do. And people were telling him, don't say this, don't say that, and everything like that. So that's what he did. But this is the other part of it. Kyler Murray, an A&M quarterback, you end up going A&M, and teams, you know what I'm saying, and the thing about with Kyler Murray, like I said, it's old man coaching some of the best around. And the funny thing about, if you know, film study came about. That's his whole thing. All his intangibles is there. The only thing anybody was griping and bitching about is talking about his height. You can't do that anymore. I told y'all, you can't do that anymore. Russell Wilson, 5'10". Drew Brees, 5'11", 6 foot. You can't do that. This kid is a winner. This kid eats, drinks, and sleeps football. He's a competitor. So you can't take that away from him based upon, you wanted to know his hand size, you got his hand size. You want to know how much he weighed, you got how much he weighed. And all that. You got his height, you got all that. Right now, now you're trying to deal with his intelligence, his football intelligence, to play over there in Oklahoma, in that particular system, under that of Lincoln Riley. You got to know something. You got to know something. You know what I'm saying? This kid, when you, it's a particular story that they talk about in high school. And this is show you how much people like Charley Casserly don't know. And like I was reminded, it's not like Charley Casserly couldn't sit up there and talk to this guy if he wanted to. See, that's the funny part about this. You follow? He could have easily talked to him if he wanted to, if the guy really wanted to actually talk with him. But he don't want to, he doesn't really want to do that. So his ex-coach, Tom Westberg, talked about, he said, on many occasions following Allen's route running period, Westberg would call for a break. But the Allen receivers didn't move. Murray wouldn't allow them to. If receivers did not run the route right, he told them over there until they did. He held them over there until they did, and we didn't go to break. That's in high school. We already know what he did in college. Unfortunately, people like Kevin Sumlin messed around and wasted some talent there, or ran a lot of guys away and him one away when, you know, you just think about what A&M football could have done basically while Kyler Murray was there. But that's a whole nother story. That's talking about his leadership qualities there, and that's in high school. Again, 3 state championships in the highest classification, right? It just goes on. So you can't tell me this kid doesn't have leadership qualities. If he didn't have leadership qualities, come on. They went 12-2, Oklahoma. He comes behind that of Baker Mayfield, who just shattered every kind of record. Comes behind Baker Mayfield, does what he does, averages 300 yards. No FBS quarterback ever did this before. 300 yards passing and something like 70 some odd yards rushing. No other quarterback has done anything like that. I mean, what else do you want him to do? Is the question. What is it that these guys want now? Then you're questioning his intelligence and whatnot. And I already told y'all the way that the game is. I'm like, this guy is perfect fit for this right now. Perfect fit. What do you want from him to do? It's nothing that this kid can't do. And that's what's pissing everybody off. There's nothing that he can't do. He's just that good. And nobody wants to say he's just that good because he's 5'10" and all of this, and he's supposed to be, appears to be tiny and all this other stuff. I'm like, you can't keep trying to say that. You can no longer say that about him and what he brings to the table. You can't do it. It's right. Like I said, everything is perfect. The only knock is the height. He has all the intangibles. We're not having this conversation if he's 6'3". But then again, we probably will be having this conversation with 6'3", because somebody like Bill Polian might want to try to turn him into a wide receiver if he's 6'3", because he's too short. Same thing they said about like that Lamar Jackson. Oklahoma this past year, 4,361 yards passing, 42 touchdowns and 7 picks. And he rushed for 1,001 yards and 12 touchdowns. So you're talking about someone that accounted for 42. Come on, man. 54 touchdowns. Won the Heisman. Won the Big 12. They had any kind of defensive help. They probably could have probably matched up a little bit better with Alabama, but he still did what he did. You can't question his leadership ability. You can't question his film study. That's evident. Go back and read that article. And this is going back to high school and what he did. He could have stayed at A&M. He could have stayed there. He said, I could have stayed at A&M and still been the starter there. But the culture there was corrupted. And there was no reason for him to sit up there and stay there because it went beyond that of football. That wasn't going to help him grow and do what he needed to do. So that's why he left and went to Oklahoma. Just that simple. So you can't question his qualities work. And all the people sitting up there saying that, no film, no board work. There's no way you could tell me Kyler Murray don't do board work. There's no way you could tell me that he doesn't have leadership qualities. Look at the way he performed. Be it high school, be it college. He has won every place he's been, and he will win in the pros. And he will probably go first. If not, he's gonna go top. Because that is where that is where professional football is at right now. I told y'all. Go back and look at some of my older footage when I tell y'all that professional football is turning in that of college football. I told y'all that. And he's going to be right there. And him and all them guys that everybody try to throw under the bus are going to be the leaders. People like Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those guys are going to be the new faces of the league. Wide open. And he's under Cliff Kingsbury. All you got to do is study and do what you're supposed to do. You do that, you ain't going to have no problem in that particular system, in that game. Do what you're supposed to do, and them guys are going to shine. I'm telling you. Because that's where the game is at now. So, but to say that, but for Casserly to come out and say, being that old fogey, because them guys got to come out and say something. Now you're questioning his film study and board work. Everybody know that kid is a gym rat or is a film study guy and all that kind of stuff. Even I know that, and I'm not even in the industry or in the business like that the way those guys are. He didn't interview well. Give a shit about whether he interviewed well. What does that have to do with anything? Does he perform? Is he a winner? Bottom line. He's a winner, and he's always been a winner in high school as well as in college. He just had that 1 year to shine and to show you the character of the kid. He could have easily stayed at A&M and took the mess. But the culture wasn't right there. So he literally sat down, right, for literally 2 years. For 2 years. He sat down for 2 years. Hey, man. So he can end up showing himself. And what he ended up doing, because everybody said he's gonna run and play baseball, because he didn't think, okay, well, how they gonna take me? So I gotta perform a certain way, and he performed. Now you trying to sit up there and say it's dumb. Going back to the old adage, black quarterbacks are dumb, or they don't know this, they don't know that. Still playing that same bullshit. But what about all those other quarterbacks? You follow what I'm saying? What about all those other quarterbacks? You still have something to say about this kid, and there's nothing to say, but he's a winner. And he's going to show everybody. He's going to show everybody. Y'all check me out subscribe to the page, like. If y'all got anything to say about it, anything, go ahead on and hit below. Plus also, like I said, I'm going to run them other joints about when I told y'all about Kyler Murray earlier. A few weeks ago, actually about a month or so ago, whatever, a couple of months ago or whatever, about that of Kyler Murray and why shouldn't he go into the pros. Even Warren Moon signed off on it because basically of the way that the game is played. And go back to my old stuff, and I'm going to put it up in there. Might be a dead soul to take me, but I'm going to put it up in there, and you will be able to see what I was telling y'all about where the game is going. So guys like Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and a whole host of other guys that's dual threat quarterbacks or just wide open, the RPO and all that wide open stuff is working in this league and is going to take it by storm. Y'all go have a good one. And like I told y'all, like I tell y'all every time, there is no GOAT. There is no greatest of all time as long as time's still going on.